Hi everyone, good evening and welcome to a very special session. While you have already watched these guys, I'm sure you are familiar with the faces. सबने ये चेहरे already देखे हुए हैं. जितने भी लोग इस सेशन में हैं, whether you talk about the students or us, but if I talk about this session is going to be a very special one क्योंकि अभी तक जो आपने इनके साथ देखा जो interaction है वो chat box में था. You watched probably a video of theirs actually where they have already spoken a little bit about their journey. So we thought कि let's bring them together, and then if you have any queries you can definitely put that in the chat box. If you have any specific queries you want to talk to the toppers, so we thought let's bring that opportunity. And I'm not going to introduce them today actually, other than myself and Siddharth sir. So they will introduce themselves, who they are actually, and those who are not aware yet कि ये लोग कौन है तो आपको अभी पता लग जाएगा. So Siddharth sir with me is the LST mentor. He is also the creator of CR Nuggets program. I am Amitendra Kumar. I am sure you have watched me over here on this platform. And I have with me four very special guests today actually. And that's what I would say. मैं इतना ही बोलूंगा, इसके आगे कुछ नहीं बोलूंगा. So I leave the forum open first of all for these four guys to introduce themselves, and then we'll go ahead with the session. Anyone, Anirudh, you can probably start. No issues.
Hi guys, my name is Anirudh Pathak. I recently scored All India rank 2 in CLAT 2025. I am from Gwalior and I am currently in class 12th humanities streams, school Pravati Vidyapeeth.
Yeah. Ananya,
Okay,
Niklesh?
I'd like to thank Amitendra sir for the flattering introduction. I'm Ananya Tamaskar. I'm a resident of Raipur, Chhattisgarh. I have currently represent All India Rank 3 for CLAT 2025. I'm a student of Krishna Public School, Dunda, and I was part of Career Launcher in the LST SPAN batch as a part of the 2-year classroom program.
Okay.
Hello everyone, I am Nikhilesh Mukherjee and I've been studying in Career Launcher since the beginning of class 11 in their offline classroom program in Kolkata. I am a student of class 12 in Lamartine for boys and I study in the science stream, and I'm very excited to be here, especially with Amitendra sir and Siddharth sir, who I have interacted with online extensively, and they have played a huge role in my CLAT success.
Hi everyone, my name is Arav Bardhan. I'm from Bombay. I'm a student of grade 12 from Bombay Scottish School, Mahim, the commerce stream. I'm part of the Career Launcher online 2-year classroom program, and I'm very excited for this discussion.
Quite interesting, isn't it? So we have all stream represented being represented over here, isn't it, Siddharth? Quite interesting.
Yeah. And another interesting thing is the long-term classroom program students.
Yeah, wonderful.
Right?
So let me actually begin with Nikhilesh, and this question is for each one of you guys actually, and because Nikhilesh comes from science stream. While we know कि हर साल बहुत सारे बच्चे हैं जो law schools में science background से होते हैं actually. Quite a big percentage actually. I remember at one point of time it was NLS Bangalore which had 60% science students in one of the batches. So Nicholas, I know you must be surrounded by your peers who were thinking about JEE and they must be preparing for JEE or medical. What made you go off bit like completely? Because in that scenario, CLAT definitely becomes an offbeat thing.
Well, yes, true. Most of my friends are currently studying very hard for NEET and JEE. But law wasn't such an alien thing to me because my family is full of lawyers. In fact, my great grandfather, my grandfather, and many of my uncles and aunts are lawyers. My parents aren't, but I still have a lot of lawyers in my family. So that was number one. Secondly, I took science because I was undecided at the very start of 11, at the end of 10. So I felt I was decently good at science. So I thought I could keep my options open. But a few months into class 11, though I was enjoying science, I realized that career-wise, law seems like the best fit for me. And law school gives me the best range of options, right from becoming a lawyer to giving me a base for, say, civil service, or helping me giving me the skills to do so many things. So I thought law school is the best way ahead for me. So that's how I came to that decision.
Oh, that's wonderful. And what about you guys? So कभी नहीं सोचा कि कॉमर्स है तो सीए बन जाएंगे, वो ज्यादा बेटर है, या ह्यूमैनिटीज है तो फिर मे बी पॉलिटिकल साइंस एंड सिविल सर्विसेज लेटर ऑन?
I'd say that could have been an option at some point of time, but similar to Niklesh here, I also come from a lineage of lawyers. My elder brother is a fourth year in a national law university, so I was familiar with this field. And secondly, so my mother is a dentist and my father is a surgeon. If I was not going into science, I had to take up a degree that would give me a professional option and not just spend like 3 4 years of my life and sit in expectation for UPSC to have a chance at clearing that exam. So
Oh, that's great. What about Anirudh?
नहीं सर, मुझे तो शुरू से ही आर्ट्स और ह्यूमैनिटीज में इंटरेस्ट था, और फिर मैंने लॉ के बारे में भी देखना शुरू किया 10th के बाद। तो फिर उसी टाइम मुझे CLAT की पता लगी थी, तो मैंने उसी की तैयारी शुरू की।
Well, I did spoke to Arav today, but Arav, I would want for the larger audience to definitely know about it. What was your thought when you went ahead with this particular thing?
Yeah, so I was always interested in the commerce field, and slowly, I realized that I was inclined towards debates, model UNs, and those experiences helped me realize that the legal profession would be the right fit for me. And unlike the others, I don't have any lawyers in my family, so it was my decision. I analyzed, what I was interested in, and according to my experience, I chose this profession.
So, any resistance coming out of from relatives, family? क्योंकि law लोग बोलते हैं बहुत struggle करना पड़ता है, तो ऐसा कुछ हुआ घर पे?
No resistance. They were very supportive.
Okay.
No, I
Great.
think what I will like to know is that from what I know, particularly in say town like Raipur or Gwalior, at least I can surely say that even the school environment is not that encouraging for CLAT Karlo. Now, most of these schools they go for the traditional stream options. So I'm sure that you guys might not have found that many friends in schools who were preparing for CLAT exam. तो कैसे उसको मैनेज किया, बिकॉज कंपेनियनशिप इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट व्हेन यू प्रिपेयर फॉर कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम, पर्टिकुलरली इन स्कूल एनवायरनमेंट. सो ऐसा कुछ हुआ था कि इट वाज आई मीन तुम्हारा एक ग्रुप बन गया था जिसके लिए तुम क्लैट पे फोकस कर रहे थे जिनके साथ? So maybe Ananya, you can speak more about that, and Anirudh, I mean all of you are supposed to speak, बोल सकते हो, but Ananya से start करते हैं.
okay, so actually, contrary to expectations, a lot of people I know already did know about CLAT and what opportunities law offered. And KPS in particular is, I guess, it has a reputation for fostering students to appear in competitive examinations. It gives certain concessions for the same. Maybe we can take a 1 month leave in November or so to
Oh,
prepare for the examination in December, which is what I did. And our executive director and principal are rather liberal with such matters, as long as we are putting in the effort. And and there is also a dedicated section to humanities, H section, and I found quite a lot of my peers who were also going for the CLAT examination. So, and there was no problem with the environment in my area, if I'm being honest.
all right. Anirudh?
हाँ सर, मेरे स्कूल में तो सर इतनी दिक्कत नहीं थी, क्योंकि मेरे स्कूल के जो डायरेक्टर हैं उनके बच्चे का भी CLAT में हुआ था
Oh, okay.
2023 के टाइम पे। वो भी
Right.
CL ग्वालियर से ही था, लोकेश श्रीवास्तव।
Okay.
तो इसलिए हमारे स्कूल में तो सपोर्टिव माहौल था और इतनी दिक्कत तो नहीं हुई थी। और पीयर्स तो मेरे ज्यादातर या जी और नीट की में ही थे, पर यह मैं CL ग्वालियर आके ही फिर यहाँ पे ही दोस्त बना लिए थे।
Those baniye. Okay, great. Nikhilesh, Arav, any point of view here that any resistance that Amiten sir was asking?
No, for me, law is associated with tradition in my family, so there
Okay.
was no resistance. There was, in fact, active encouragement to do law, because law is very traditional in my family. Even in my school, many of my teachers were supportive of this, because they saw me involved in speaking activities and they thought I would make for a good lawyer. So everywhere there was encouragement for me.
Sure, that's great actually. So we'll straight go to your prep plan actually. So, so I know you guys have spoken enough. अभी तक आई एम श्योर बहुत लोगों ने कांटेक्ट भी किया होगा कि कैसे पढ़ना है, क्या पढ़ना है. So let's go back to your journey. And one thing is very common to each one of these guys is they all started quite early. So they the moment they moved to class 11, they started preparing for this examination. What was the thought when you is it because कि pattern जो है आज की डेट में you also felt कि that requires an early attention, एक जल्दी start बहुत definitely important है, the kind of skill sets they are checking right now, the way the paper is designed, or you thought it's just about competition, जितना जल्दी शुरू कर ले उतना अच्छा है. Any one of you can go
Uh,
ahead.
is it okay if I start, everyone?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Uh, might sound a little funny, but okay, so I already had someone in the family who had prepared for the CLAT, so I had a general idea of how I could get into it, the whole process and start preparing. And there was also the looming sort of joking thread that if I didn't get one of the top three NLUs, I would have to repeat these 2 years with biology. And I didn't want to take that chance if in case it wasn't a joke. So I decided to start as early as possible. I looked up coaching institutes. We were already familiar with Priyanka Singh ma'am, who's the center supervisor in CL Raipur. That sort of streamlined a certain path for me going into the whole preparation stage.
And what about others? Maybe Arav, Nikhilesh.
So, yeah, starting early just seemed natural to me because if I was going to devote so much of my time to this exam, might as well give it my all, might as well start early. And that really helped me create a foundation. In 2023, I was able to give time to CLAT, build a foundation, because I knew when school started in 12, there'd be exams, school exams. That would also take up a lot of my time. So to have a buffer, to have a foundation starting early is very important.
Okay. Any other thoughts, guys? Nikhilesh, Anirudh, कुछ add करना चाहोगे?
Okay, I can add something. For me, I started. Um, Anirudh, you can go first.
No, 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 no.
ठीक है. So I started in class 11 because I thought if I started in class 12, it would be only 5 or 6 months that I get, and I have to really study extra hard. So I felt if I started in 11, I could go at my own pace and have sufficient time to cover everything, and then I wouldn't have to study too hard in class 12. If I could lay down my basics in class 11, and then in 12, I have time left for practice and refining. So that was what I thought.
हाँ सर, मेरा भी एक्सपीरियंस यही था कि जल्दी जितना जल्दी हो जाएगा उतना ही सही है, तो प्रैक्टिस के लिए और ज्यादा टाइम बचेगा.
बड़े बहुत अच्छी चीज
So,
देखने को
you
मिली.
know,
यू गो फर्स्ट बहुत अच्छी चीज देखने को मिली. अब ये देखना है कि कॉलेज में भी यही चीजें होती है नहीं होती, वो चारों पहुंच तो एक ही जगह रहे.
one interesting thing and one thing to notice for everybody who is watching this video is that if you're clear about your career path, that this is what you want to pursue, it is always good to start early. When the moment you are clear, please usko start kar lo. बहुत सारे लोग they wait for the I will start in the class 12th or I will start at that point in time. It is okay if you are confused and you may take a 1 2 months time, but all these guys were clear and we started with how it started for them. Law obvious choice था बहुत से लोगों के लिए. So it started with then, and then the moment it was clear class 11 से they started their preparation. We'll also like to know, the CLAT exam is basically testing your reading and reasoning skills. How many of you had the reading skills पहले से कि CLAT की तैयारी के बाद उसको चालू किया?
नहीं सर, मेरा तो 7th के टाइम से ही हिस्ट्री में, मेरा हमेशा से 6th में हम लोगों की हिस्ट्री इंट्रोड्यूस हो गई थी, तो उसी टाइम से मेरा तो हिस्ट्री में इंटरेस्ट था. तो मैं उसी टाइम पे, जैसे जेसाई दीपक की एक बुक आई थी उस टाइम पे 7th के टाइम पे शायद, इंडिया डेट इज भारत करके, तो मैं उसी टाइम से रीडिंग तो मैं 6th सेंड से ही शुरू कर दी थी बुक चॉइस की, तो उसका बेस तो मेरा था.
All right.
Okay, guys, go ahead.
Anyone else? I mean,
Please do
any
go
of
ahead,
you
Nikhilesh. मैं बहुत ज़्यादा बोल रहा हूँ, please.
नहीं नहीं
नहीं नहीं,
बिल्कुल
ऐसा
नहीं।
कुछ भी नहीं है। ठीक है, मैं क्वेश्चन को ऐसे पुट करता हूँ, विच विल बी फॉर द बेनिफिट ऑफ द लार्जर सेक्शन। एनी ऑफ यू जो उतना क्लैट प्रिपरेशन के पहले बहुत ज्यादा रीडिंग में नहीं था, थोड़ा बहुत कभी पढ़ता था, बट द मोमेंट यू स्टार्टेड प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर क्लैट यू वेंट इनटू द रीडिंग, एंड हाउ डिड यू डू दैट, इफ एनी वन ऑफ यू हैड दैट काइंड ऑफ ट्रेजेक्टरी?
आई थिंक मोस्ट ऑफ देम हैव बीन डूइंग इट एक्चुअली। सो
ओके।
अर्लियर इंटरेक्शन से भी ये चीज पता, एक दो कमेंट बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग आए हैं, मतलब आई थिंक क्लैट को लेकर ही था, बट किसी ने अब किसके लिए डायरेक्ट किया था आई डोंट नो, गर्लफ्रेंड से रात में चैटिंग कैसे करते थे, मतलब ये पर्सनल सीक्रेट है, इसको हम लोग बाहर नहीं निकालेंगे। सो ऑफ कोर्स कंसोर्शियम गड़बड़ मार्किंग करता है, उससे डर नहीं लगता है। तो
Yeah,
anybody who want to respond?
about that actually. So what happened was I gave my attempt. I was fairly satisfied, but after that, for one whole week, I didn't check my paper. I didn't look up the provisional answer key. मैंने social media पूरा बंद कर दिया because I was preparing for the AILT because I knew कि अब सब the consortium is the almighty now. So no matter what type of attempt I might have given, जितनी भी preparation हो, it ultimately depends on examiner का interpretation मेरे साथ align करता है कि नहीं. So डर तो डेफिनेटली लगता है, बट I'd say कि the mocks you give in your coaching centers or wherever you might be applying, that does give you a decent idea of what to expect in the actual examination. So if you are keeping a consistently good score, you can expect a fairly decent score in the actual examination as well. डर थोड़ा बहुत ठीक है, एटलीस्ट इट कीप्स यू ऑन योर टोज, इट कीप्स यू प्रिपेयरिंग वेल इनफ, बट बहुत ज्यादा भी नहीं डरना चाहिए, कंसोर्शियम भगवान है.
Okay. Anybody
लेट्स
else?
टॉक अबाउट, हाँ, थोड़ा एकेडमिक जर्नी तुम लोगों की जानने की कोशिश करते हैं. What was the weakest area for each of you? Maybe Anirudh, you can start. What was your weakest area?
हाँ सर, मेरा तो सबसे वीकेस्ट जीके ही था। जीके में ही डर लगता था कि वो
GK.
कैसी
Okay.
आएगी।
Ananya, what about you?
Same, going as per my scores, current affairs and GK.
GK. Nikhilesh?
Initially, I had no GK preparation, so for me also it was GK.
GK. Arav, was it GK for you also?
Also GK.
तो कैसे प्रिपेयर किया यार जीके के लिए? मतलब इट सीम्स लाइक अ कॉमन प्रॉब्लम. सो हाउ डिड यू प्रिपेयर फॉर जीके? Maybe anyone can start.
So the most important thing for GK, I feel, is planning well and starting early. So the mistake I made, I kept putting it off. I started my GK, my note making in May. So I already had 4 months of backlog. So by the time I completed my backlog with school exams in the middle, creating more backlog, it had already been October. So one advice would be to start early. And now, how did I clear this backlog, which was already there? So I made sure to plan my weeks well. I knew how long I would take to, maybe complete a manthan or make the notes from the manthan. So accordingly, I created a detailed day-wise, week-wise schedule, and that planning gave me the confidence that okay, it's not that vast. Also, I can cover it.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Arav. So what I also did was all of that, but so Manthan was my base for the entire GK preparation, and of course Amitendra sir's lectures, I used to attend them religiously. So, but what the one thing that I did, because GK often can become overwhelming and sometimes boring, because things that you study in GK are interesting, but a lot of it is also very boring. So what I did was, whatever I studied in the Manthan, I used to then just Google it, and like if I watch a video of some minister giving a statement on it, or some other article which goes more into detail on it, on that thing, then I can create a sort of network around it, which makes it easier for me to remember it personally. It's not just one thing in the Manthan. Manthan is my base, and once I've seen it in the Manthan, I do my own research on it, and that helps me imprint that information in my memory. So that's one thing that I
Excellent.
did.
Anything else, Ananya or Anirudh, that you did for GK apart from what
um,
Nikhilesh and Arav had told?
Anirudh, you can go first.
हाँ, हाँ सर मतलब मैंने मंथन तो शुरू ही कर दी थी जनवरी से, उसमें तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं हुई थी। मेरी यही दिक्कत थी, मैंने रिवाइज करना शुरू नहीं किया था, तो ज्यादा मतलब एक बार जैसे अगर जनवरी की कर ली तो उसके बाद खोली नहीं, तो ये दिक्कत हो गई थी, तो आखिर के टाइम पे फिर उसके लिए ज्यादा टाइम डेडिकेट करना पड़ा था।
Okay. Revision is important, that means. Okay.
हाँ
My approach is sort of an amalgamation of what the other three said. So, starting with Arav, this sort of goes back to the lockdown stages when I was in ninth grade. I had a very concentrated social media presence, which some websites had a very large American demographic, and maybe it's because they call America the world police, but it was my introduction to a lot of contemporary conflicts, like the Israel-Palestine conflict, which is going on, the Syrian fiasco, the Russia-Ukraine, the Cold War, which it ties into a lot of geopolitics we cover for current affairs. It piqued my interest in debate, etc., as well. Which uh, I sort of started going into different avenues like Model United Nations, where I engaged in debates, and I had to make sure that my research and facts were consistent enough to hold up my arguments. And that sort of ensures that I have accurate information, and that also helps you in the actual examination because let's say that the general consensus in a certain news headline is that the Russian leader lambasted this leader. But what the consortium actually asks you is what the actual statement was. And there it becomes important that you know what really happened. So I'd say that apart from just covering GK as a form of study, you take it up as an interest as well. Maybe if you're interested in debating मुंह चोरी करनी अच्छी लगती है तो उसमें भी चले जाओ. It sort of helps you develop your argumentation skills and research skills as well. And the major problem I had was also with revision because I attended all the सेशंस. मैंने अमितेंद्र सर की क्लासेस ने कश्मीर इशू में बहुत हेल्प किया था, बट मेन थिंग वाज आई डिडंट गो थ्रू इट अगेन एंड अगेन, सो कहीं कहीं जीके स्कोर्स ड्रॉप हो जाते थे. सो I'd recommend that other people don't make the same mistake.
So I think
Okay, so
just to sum up the GK ka discussion, Amiten, you can add then if I miss on something.
sure.
One very clear thing is that there can be several ways to improve GK. ये चार लोग चार अलग अलग तरीके की बात भी किए, कुछ सिमिलर चीजें भी किए. तो अनिरुद्ध जहाँ क्लास 6 से हिस्ट्री में इंटरेस्ट आ गया था, अनन्या ने काफी सारे एमयूएन्स और एक प्रैक्टिकल एक्सपोजर की बात की. आरव ने बात की कि स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम द मंथ ऑफ अप्रैल में preparing GK. Similarly with Nikhilesh. But the common thing is that what I was able to register is that revision is very, very important. And you can do revision only if you are making good notes. Otherwise, you will end up wasting a lot of time. So there can be different ways, but few common things: make proper notes, revise them. That is something that is common for all for four of these speakers. Yes, Amiten, if I missed, and yeah, Manthan and Amiten sir ka class common hai na.
नहीं,
सबने.
मैं वो जीके की बात ही नहीं कर रहा हूँ, तो आज कोई लेक्चर की बात नहीं हो रही. सो बिकॉज अनन्या मेंशन अबाउट मूड्स एक्चुअली, तो मुझे कुछ याद आया. मैं नहीं बोलूंगा, मैं चाहूंगा आरव बात करे उसके बारे में. सो व्हाट ही हैज डन स्पेशली अबाउट मूड.
Thank you, sir. So last year, my friend and I, we founded a moot court at our school, Bombay Scottish School, Mahim, and it was one of the first moot courts at the school level. So that helped me, understand how to organize a moot and thinking of the cases that other participants will argue for or against. So that also helped me narrow down further on the legal profession as my career. And this year, what we did, we took it ahead. We had the second edition, and we in fact collaborated with Symbiosis Law School, Pune. So their students came and trained our students on how to moot. So yeah, I think the takeaway would be do the things that you're interested in side by side. Because I kept in touch with my extracurriculars, and I think that had a complementary effect that widened my GK, my current affairs. So that helped for CLAT as well.
So this is a message not only to the audience, but I believe I would say this is a message. I'm sure goes to the NLS team, mooting team at present कि आपका next team member ready है, जुलाई से आपको join कर रहा है. So that's what I would say. So already a team member ready है. Okay, guys. So I think let's move on. Move on to one thing which is very very important. Many a times ignored at the beginning, creates a last moment panic, and of course I'm referring to mocks. So we started the mocks on in January third week, and there were a whole lot of mocks, 48 for CLAT, in fact 12 for AILT. ऐसा कोई है जिसने उसमें से काफी सारे मॉक्स नहीं लिखे हो यहाँ पर, या सबने सारे मॉक्स लिए थे? तो फिर मॉक्स की बात करते हैं, बिकॉज एक ये एंगल है ना, आप कितनी भी बात करो कई बार उसको इग्नोर कर जाते हैं. तो इंपॉर्टेंस की बात नहीं करते, मतलब हाउ डिड इट बेनिफिट यू? क्योंकि कई बार क्या होता है कि मॉक्स लिखते हो, हम सीधा आई वुड रादर गो देयर कि मॉक्स के स्कोर्स अप डाउन हुए होंगे, डेफिनेटली सबके साथ होता है. कई बार बहुत अच्छा परफॉर्मेंस गया और सडनली एक मॉक ऐसा आ जाता है जहां पे एंड देयर वर लॉट ऑफ वेरिएशंस, बिकॉज अभी 2 साल 3 साल का क्लैट जैसा है, वो वेरिएशन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट था. सिद्धार्थ सर वाज पार्ट ऑफ द मॉक मेकिंग प्रोसेस एक्चुअली, तो पूरा उन्होंने बनाया था. तो जब ये अप डाउन होते थे तो क्या थॉट होता था तुम्हारे दिमाग में? बिकॉज दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू बी एड्रेस्ड. So maybe I would want Nikhilesh to start this time.
Okay. So I would have fluctuations. What I would think was that a mock at the end of the day is very important, but it is also a mock. So the key thing that you have to do after a mock is not look at it from a perspective that, oh, I've done so well in the mock, I'm so great, or oh, I've done so badly, I'm going to fail. The point is to look at what you have done wrong and look at it very objectively, go through your mock, analyze it. Analysis is key, it's the most important thing. And then you try to figure out what mistakes you have made and try to correct them. I think for mocks, you should always have a positive mindset and not make mocks like the most important thing that is going to determine your actual CLAT score. What is actually going to determine how well you'll do on the CLAT is how you can take a bad mock and how you can look at the mistakes you have done and make sure that they are not repeated. I would be not too unhappy with a bad mock score, but I would be very unhappy if I repeated the same mistake in two mocks consecutively. So that was the attitude that I had towards mocks.
Maybe Arup, before we move on to Ananya and Anirudh. Anirudh के लिए तो कुछ लोग रिप्लाई कर रहे हैं already.
Yeah, adding on to what Nikhilesh said, what's important is when you get a bad score in your mock, analyze what went wrong with you on that day. So maybe you didn't have enough sleep, maybe you were distracted. Analyze why it went wrong. Apart from analyzing your mistakes, figure out if there was something else. Maybe your energy level was low. Because if you're less on sleep or your energy level is low or you're distracted, that means you were not at your optimum capacity. And that's fine, it happens. So don't take that mock, that bad score too harshly. And I would say the opposite of this is also true. You need to have that self-awareness to know that you on one particular day you're in the zone, like you're fresh, you're ready. So on that day when you write a mock, make sure you analyze that well. So you can give yourself a little leeway on a bad day, but when you know it's a good day, don't give yourself that leeway and analyze it properly. That's what I would say.
Ananya?
Oh no, AI or 2 is on demand, Anirudh, please.
नहीं, अनिरुद्ध के लिए किसी ने ऑलरेडी लिखा है. रिमेम्बर अनिरुद्ध भैया, मतलब अनिरुद्ध भैया एक बार 60-70 आए थे, एंड बट ही वाज प्रेटी चिल क्योंकि उन्हें पता था ही इज अ लेजेंड.
नहीं
सो
सर, ऐसा कुछ
डेफिनेटली
नहीं था.
फैन फॉलोइंग है.
नहीं सर, जब आए थे तब तो मतलब बुरा लगा ही था. पर यह मैंने एनालिसिस से शुरू कर दिया था कि उसको, वो जिस मॉक में मेरे कम आए थे उसमें और 3-4 घंटे और ज्यादा ही अच्छा एनालिसिस करके फिर सही कर
Okay.
दिया था.
So learning is very very important. Anything
हाँ,
Ananya would like
नहीं
to
सर.
add over?
Yeah, it's pretty much a repetition of what others said. First off, if you have already started attempting mocks, don't be disheartened by a bad score. It's not necessary कि mock में बुरा आया तो actual exam में भी बुरा आएगा. But again, don't be too comfortable with it. क्योंकि sometimes it is a very accurate reflection of what is actually going to go down in the actual exam. So buck up, boss. But otherwise, if some of you might be thinking that भाई consortium तो हर साल अब पैटर्न चेंज कर रहा है, मॉक काम आएगा कि नहीं. I'd say attempt a few mocks, then pick up these two papers from CLAT 2025 and the last year's CLAT, and you'll get to know why it's actually useful. So, some of the questions, if I remember correctly, in our mocks had like there were passages where with questions that didn't necessarily correlate with the passage. We had questions that were out of the scope of the passage, which was what we got in legal reasoning this year. So definitely speed, efficiency, and familiarity are going to be your best friends going into this examination. So you even if अगर कुछ कंसोर्शियम बॉम्ब गिरा रहा है तो तुम्हारे सर में तो नहीं फूटना चाहिए, especially so helps you keep your cool because you're already familiar with what is going to go down no matter what happens.
इनफैक्ट कंसोर्शियम की बम गिराने की कोशिश आई थिंक तुम लोगों के साथ सक्सेसफुल नहीं हुई, क्योंकि मॉक में जो लीगल नॉलेज को जो टेस्ट किया हम लोगों ने, क्योंकि क्या है, एक फाइन प्रिंट बताता हूँ, मतलब मैं बहुत बार बोल चुका हूँ कि कंसोर्शियम के एक लाइन को पढ़ के सब बाहर निकल जाते हैं, प्रायर नॉलेज इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड, बट वो आगे बोलते हैं इट इज हेल्पफुल. सो दैट नोबडी वॉच एक्चुअली, सो नोबडी रीड्स एक्चुअली. तो वो उसको ध्यान में रख के वो प्लानिंग की गई थी. एंड आई एम श्योर इस बार जो आउटसाइड नॉलेज रिक्वायर्ड हुआ था, तुम लोगों को ज्यादा टाइम नहीं लगा उसको सॉल्व करने में एक्चुअली, बिकॉज यू न्यू कि इस टाइप के थॉट्स रेडी थे. एंड फिर से मैं एक चीज ऐड कर दे, देखो मेरा इंटरेक्शन आज थोड़ा दिन में काफी हुआ लंबा आरव के साथ. यू नो आरव व्हाट ही यूज्ड टू डू, सिद्धार्थ, वो मॉक लिखता था जब 2 से 4 के बीच में ना, तो वो सेटअप करता था पूरा, वो शूज पहन के मॉक लिखता था घर में भी, कि एक्चुअल एग्जाम में तो मैं जाऊंगा तो शूज पहन के एग्जाम लिखूंगा ना. तो फुल रेडीनेस जो होती थी ना. सो एंड दिस इज व्हाट ऑल दीज गाइज हैव डन. सो मतलब आई एम नॉट समिंग इट अप, बट फॉर द लार्जर ऑडियंस मैं ये बोलूंगा कि मतलब सी the the guys, these guys are here because a lot of thought went into it actually being here. It's not that they randomly planned कि CLAT लिख लेंगे चले जाएंगे, we'll crack the examination. They're sincere, they worked really hard towards it, and they, whatever they could think of, even some minor stuff which they have to take care of, they have done that actually. So it's not just कि गए बुक खोला पढ़ाई कर ली और मॉक्स लिख लिए, प्रैक्टिस कर लिया, एनालाइज कर लिया, गलतियां समझ ली. दैट्स नॉट व्हाट वाज इट्स ऑल अबाउट देयर जर्नी, बट we'll keep on, we'll move ahead. Siddharth, anything specific you'd like to pick up from
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
Or?
I want to ask because all of them are in class 12th. And I know for Ananya, Priyanka ma'am told me that he is also the head boy of school, if I'm not wrong. Right. So, and lot of our audience would be in class 11th or class 12th students planning to retake the CLAT. कैसे manage किया? How did you manage school and the CLAT preparation? Because there is hardly anything common apart from the English of class 12th and CLAT. So there is hardly anything common. To how did you manage this? Nikhilesh, maybe you can start. You took the online classes, right, Nikhilesh?
I was
No,
in the
you.
offline course, but I also took the L Stars online classes.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, please.
Yeah, so for me personally, if you can, from if the key is in the fact that you have to make a strategy and you need to make your priorities clear within your own head right at the start. So for me, my priority was of course doing well in the CLAT because that's what going to get me into college. But at the same time, I didn't want any of my school scores to lag. So I used to make sure that I kept both going, and if ever I felt that, say, my school education was falling behind, I used to then dedicate a few hours to making sure that I'm back on track with that. Or if I've ever decided that my CLAT is not going too well, I would just focus on that for that weekend. So I feel a little bit of flexibility is important as long as your own priorities and strategy is clear in your own mind. That's my approach.
Yeah, so Nikhilesh, and this I will like everybody can perhaps give this figure if you can. So suppose if you study for 10 hours a day, suppose, I'm not saying that everybody studies for 10 hours. Was there anything in mind कि इतना घंटा क्लैट को, इतना घंटा स्कूल की स्टडीज को, या फिर पूरे वीक का प्लानिंग होता था कि 2 days for school, 2 days for CLAT, 2 days for something else? Any kind of planning? Because students struggle with that part, that they know that strategize करना है, but तुम लोगों ने कैसे किया उसे?
Okay, so sir, I did not ever put say that I'll study for a certain number of hours, and for me, I've never been able to study more than 4 or 5 hours a day. So towards the beginning, until say September, I used to do both school education. So on I would usually, for weekdays, I would do my schoolwork, and weekends, since I have my CL classes anyway, I would go there in the morning, and then in the afternoon and evening I would either analyze my mock or do some GK, or study something for the CLAT. Then towards October, November, I got serious, and from then I did not really study that much for my school tests, and I studied mainly for CLAT. And now that CLAT's over, I'm just studying for my school test. So that's how I schedule the whole, not just the whole week, but the year.
Yeah, Anirudh.
हाँ सर, मतलब मुझे आर्ट्स में तो अच्छे ही लगता था, और उससे रीडिंग ही हो जाती है, तो मैं 1-2 घंटे रोज कर ही लेता था। कोई चैप्टर कर लिया, कुछ कर लिया, तो उससे कॉम्प्रिहेंशन और रीडिंग ही अच्छी हो जाती थी। तो मुझे तो
Okay.
इतनी लगती थी।
Ananya, how did you manage all the things?
It's a psychological game, all in all. So, थोड़ी personal कहानी है. I'm here right now because of a senior in mine in school. If you're watching this, shout out. But he was also the head boy at the time, and he also gave the CLAT examination. And one conversation I had was, यार आगे जाके are you going to continue this legacy? I was like, no, मुझे science में तो time मिलेगा नहीं. But I reconsidered my options, and since my family was also open to it, I went into the food preparation stage. And I didn't put CLAT on a pedestal as such. ये मेरे life का एक goal नहीं था. It was more of a passing stage which I had to go through to actually achieve my goals. Since I have proper college means a proper foundation for whatever I want to do in life. But that also means that you need to take that passage very, very seriously. It has, certain conditions that come with it. कभी कभी टाइम मैनेजमेंट में तो डेफिनेटली प्रॉब्लम जाती थी. आई हैड टू बी इन्वॉल्व्ड इन इवेंट्स एज सच, ताकि आई मीन ऐसा मोरल ना हो स्टूडेंट काउंसिल का कि यार हेड बॉय ही नहीं है, हम काम क्यों कर रहे हैं टाइप का. So I had stayed back sometimes. There were 1 or 2 times I gave my mocks in my school uniform. But don't let anything get you down, because टच वुड ना हो, लेकिन ऐसा कुछ सिनारियो आया कि मे बी यू हैव अ फीवर, या उस दिन बहुत ज्यादा अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है, एंड आप एग्जामिनेशन देने जा रहे हो, एंड उसके पहले यू हैव थ्रू आउट द होल 2 years यू हैव बीन इन परफेक्ट कंडीशन. दैट कैन बी अ डिसएडवांटेज. तो कम हेलो और हाय व्हेन I'd say ट्राई कि इवन इन योर वर्स्ट कंडीशन ट्राई टू गिव योर मॉक्स, एंड अगर उसमें ठीक ठाक स्कोर आ गया तो लेट्स जस्ट से कि यू आर डूइंग वेल इनफ. So in the end, it's all in the head, and I don't. Uh, I'd say I don't categorize my study according to time, because मैं nature से आलसी आदमी हूँ थोड़ा, तो I procrastinate a lot. But if I'm say setting assignments rather than setting a certain time to do those assignments, I complete it in a more efficient manner, क्योंकि इट कुड हैपन कि मैं 10 क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करने बैठा हूँ एंड मुझे 2 घंटे पढ़ना है, तो दिमाग में बस बैठ गया कि भाई 2 घंटे पढ़ना है, ये 10 क्वेश्चन में 2 घंटे वही लगा दे. सो दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ डजंट वर्क आउट फॉर मी. सो आई focused on completing assignments and quotas of what number of questions and sections I'm solving, rather than dedicating a certain time to those sections.
Arav, of course, your inputs.
Yeah, so I think my experience was something similar to Nikhilesh and Ananya. So, the 6 to 12 months before the exam, it was juggling school and the CLAT exam. Often, if it was a school exam with a important school exam for an entire month, I would be thrown off my CLAT schedule. So then the next month would go in covering up. But after all the exams, I realized that I did cover up the backlog, and I never stopped attempting the mocks. That's one important thing. And of course, 2-3 months before the exam, I shifted my focus completely to CLAT. Uh, the only unique input I think I can add here is, as an online student, I had the liberty of watching the recordings of the class. So maybe on the way, sometimes I was just going to school or coming back from school, I would plug in and watch a video. So that helped me save my time. And after all, there's not really any overlap between your school prep and your CLAT prep. So you have to make use of that time there's not going to be any overlap. So the time you're giving to school is a dead loss to the time that you're giving to CLAT. They're not going to overlap. So you have to really squeeze and get that time for CLAT, because ultimately that's very important for your future.
So, time to pick a question from the audience, and anyways, I would have picked this up क्योंकि ये एक बड़ा pain point है बहुत सारे लोगों का, especially the CLAT aspirants actually, and I'm sure you guys are also familiar with this. For some of you, might be a problem, may not have been a problem, and the question is very simple. I find quantitative techniques difficult. What are some tips and tricks to overcome this difficulty?
10वीं की
क्योंकि
एनसीईआरटी उठा के पूरा सॉल्व कर लो. I'd say 10th grade तक आपने जितना भी मैथ सॉल्व किया है, that is in the end very useful. Actually, it piqued my interest. Nikhilesh, did your science and maths background help you in any way with quantitative techniques? Because I sometimes felt that अगर ऐसे कुछ regular background होता तो maybe help होता. Was there something like that?
Yeah, so I haven't never actually studied for the QT section because it was so easy for me, because I did because what I was doing in school was like 1,000 times more difficult than that. So, and I was used to doing mental maths and all of that because I used to do maths competitions early on. So it was almost a breeze for me because um, all the basics I knew. So I never really practiced for it. The one thing that I would say for CLAT is important is it's not just your mathematical ability that the QT section is testing. It's also given in a paragraph, right? It's not just for what is 4% of X, but it's a paragraph about some problem or some situation, and from that you're supposed to gather the numerical data. So from what I would say is, if you're do the class 10 textbooks if your basic skills are not really strong, but once you have done that, you should try to solve caselets of what in the format that CLAT actually gives, where you have one big statement and then you have six questions on that, because that is really the key. You have to get information out of a passage of words. It's not just numbers. It's a lot of words, and it's a lot of sentences. So you have to get the numbers out of that. So I think that is the thing that you need to practice for CLAT. Otherwise, the what they test isn't really that hard if you're decent at maths.
Arav, Dushan, sorry, Anirudh.
So my experience was similar to Nikhilesh. I never really faced problems with QT. My scores were always, 10 to 12. It never fell below that. So my only advice to those who are facing problems with QT would be practice. There's no other way. It's maths. Maths means practice. And even our teachers have been telling us that since the lower grades. If you want to get better at maths, you have to practice.
अनिरुद्ध, इसके बारे में कुछ ऐड करोगे?
यही है कि बेसिक्स कर लेनी चाहिए और उसका प्रैक्टिस ऐसे उसमें
तो वो डर हटाना पड़ेगा. I think you need to practice. So Avni put this question up. So I think, and if you give yourself an early start, there will be never a pressure. तो आप जितनी जल्दी क्वांट पे स्टार्ट कर लोगे, थोड़ा बहुत प्रैक्टिस कर लोगे, and it's all about solving more questions actually. That's how I would look at it. Okay, एक rapid fire करते हैं. All four of you. How many of you watched the Hindu analysis by Govind sir? किसी ने देखा? नहीं देखा. स्कूल के टाइम से क्लैश हुआ होगा. चलो मूव करते हैं सेक्शनल टेस्ट पे. सेक्शनल टेस्ट कितने इंपॉर्टेंट है प्रिपरेशन में, और कितने लोगों ने सेक्शनल टेस्ट बहुत सिंसियरली लिया था?
Yeah, so in the online portal, especially sectional tests come with a timer. So if you're struggling with, say, time management, etc., those definitely help you out because you are improving accuracy along with time management at the same time. So it's definitely a fairly important factor in practice.
Okay.
For me, I also did sectional tests. If I had studied something in legal, if I had studied a lot of, if I just revised some concepts in legal, I would like to give a legal sectional test just to check if I'm able to apply them in situations. Also, if I was feeling like I haven't done something for one day and I have to revise logical or English, because there isn't so much really to study in that, I would I would have liked to have given a sectional test just to feel like I've actually done something, and then I would feel after giving a mock, well, that was actually useful. So that was my experience with sectional tests.
Great. Siddharth, anything you would like to?
No, I mean, uh, I will like to know the one or two critical message, the most important thing, the one message that you will like to give to the future aspirants कि ये तो करना ही चाहिए for CLAT. And it can be from academic, it can be from the mental perspective, whatever you feel like the most important thing that helped you in your preparation. Maybe Anirudh, we can start with you.
सर मेरे हिसाब से तो जीके रिवीजन और एनालिसिस करते रहना चाहिए, वही मेरे हिसाब से सबसे
Sorry, Anirudh, I think we missed it. क्या बोले?
जीके रिवीजन करना रेगुलर करते रहना चाहिए.
GK. Okay. All right. Okay.
बोलते ही आ रहा हूँ, फिर से वही बोलूंगा. The only limits you have are the ones you place upon yourself. So don't ever limit yourself to a certain thing. If you even if you feel that you can't fulfill a certain objective or quota, just give it a try. Don't give up without even trying. That's just about it.
CLAT for me was an exam which is all about decision making in very small amounts of time. So when you are studying for the CLAT, Siddharth sir gave us many strategies to eliminate options in the logical and English sections. So while you're analyzing your mocks, you're figuring out through practice how you approach a section, you will develop an instinct after a few months of studying. And that instinct is a logical instinct. It's not just an emotional instinct. It is an instinct that has been born out of a lot of practice, out of a lot of strategy. So in the last 1 month, you have to trust yourself, you have to trust your gut. And you don't, and when you come to a high stakes, high pressure situation like the actual CLAT, you may feel a little overwhelmed. You may feel like you yourself are not good enough for this. And that is the moment where you try to second guess yourself. So I would say avoid doing that and trust the gut, trust the instinct that you have developed over these months of practice.
So I shared this earlier today in the session with Amitendra sir as well. Uh, I would like to just give one piece of advice to all the aspirants out there. Attempt each mock as if it's the CLAT exam and attempt CLAT as if it's a mock. I've stuck to this and I followed this throughout, and it really helped. And some of the things that I did to make the mock feel like the actual CLAT exam, one of which Amitendra sir has already shared, the shoes thing. Another thing I did is I reached the center, the mock center, half an hour early, more than half an hour sometimes. And if the mock was at 2, I used to sit there from 1:30 to 2 doing nothing. I would just be with myself, be with my thoughts, learn how to control my thoughts. Because what people do is they practice 2 to 4 writing the mock. What they don't realize is on the final day, they're obviously going to reach the center early. They're going to sit there. And then if they get anxious, the battle is lost before it has even started. So you need to practice your controlling your thoughts right before the exam, and that will give you the feeling like, okay, I'm sitting for the actual CLAT exam, not just a mock. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Great, yeah. In fact, so that minute detailing is very very important. But at the end of the day, I think one thing which I would definitely say what Arav said: write the mock like an actual paper and take the actual paper like a mock. So I have been telling this in a different way, different forums में बोला है. And before the exam, I told everyone on a similar session on YT do's and don'ts. If I remember, you must go and enjoy your exam actually. So the stress to part hai, learning a part hai, and that will continue to happen. But I think the moment you start enjoying the process itself, that becomes very very important. So I think it was really good. Siddharth, I would like you to can you summarize the entire thing actually for the benefit of the larger audience who may have joined, and then we can close. Or if you have any
Yeah.
further
So
questions, definitely go ahead.
yeah, I will just like to hear from them their experience being part of Career Launcher program. And when I'm talking about experience, let me be very honest. You can tell me good things. You can also tell me the bad things. And I'm speaking it on a live forum, right? So if you can share your experiences, kuch memorable cheez, so that will be good. And then I will sum up very quickly in maybe a 30-second time. Each of you can share something. Yeah, let me start with Arav. Yeah, Arav, am I
Uh,
audible, Amitin?
sir, I didn't get the entire question. I just wanted to confirm it's about
So,
feedback,
so
right?
just your experience being part of career launcher, classroom program, the goods, the bads, anything, any experience that you want to share. कैसा रहा सब?
So my experience over the last 2 years was very positive. The faculty was very supportive. Any doubts you have, very quick to clear them. When it comes to mocks, another great resource, very accurate to the actual exam. If you compare the number of questions, it's exactly on point. Even the type of questions, occasional variations, the surprises that come up, that does keep you on your toes. So the mocks are also a big part of the experience at Career Launcher. And if I had to give a piece of feedback, it would be maybe as the classes progress towards the middle, I felt the level of difficulty could have been increased. I felt we were still doing, foundational level passages, uh, even when it was say May 2024, 1 year of classes had already been covered. Yeah, that was the only one small thing that I found. Otherwise, overall experience very positive.
Great.
Okay, so I go next. So the one thing I study at the CL Kolkata Center. So the one thing that really stood out for me was because CL has been in the game for such a long time, it also has a lot of people who have gone to all the NLUs. So for the legal classes, we used to get students who are at an LNU or have passed out from one of the top NLUs, and they would actually not just talk to us about legal, but also about the experience of being in an NLU and how fun it is, how competitive it is, how academically stimulating it is. And those were the classes that I used to look forward to the whole week, to meet with people who are actually budding lawyers. Apart from that, the faculty was great. And I was part of the LST Stars program, which was started by and run by Amitendra sir, Siddharth sir, and a few other teachers. Govind sir was also very crucial. So over there, I felt in the last few months of my preparation that really gave me the final push, because I was surrounded by people who are doing as well as me. That's not something that you get at your own center. It's something that you get at a national level kind of forum. And so that gave me the final push to actually give it my best for the CLAT, and also gave me perspective of where I actually stand, because just because I was among the best in my center doesn't mean that I am among the best nationally. So that national platform that it gave to me, that gave me the final push, which was very necessary.
CL for me has been extremely supportive throughout. What with, I mean, इतना पीछे तो पेरेंट्स नहीं पड़े होंगे जितना like the
प्रियंका
faculty
प्यार पड़ी.
progress checkup करती थी. But like legitimately, the experience I had was fun. I'd say the evaluation of my progress was intricately monitored throughout, for which I'm extremely grateful. We had a lot of hand curated resources in the LST Stars batch from all the teachers, Amitendra sir, Siddharth sir, from CL Center as well, from our GK faculty, Pooja ma'am. Priyanka ma'am took our quantitative techniques classes, and just basically hold your hand through the process at some point. So I'd say that's a really unique experience I might get to experience once in a lifetime. If I mean, if there's any sort of just slightly negative feedback, it would be that कभी कभी लगता था यार ये mock की answer की क्या है. But turns out that was also the case with the actual examination. So thank you to CL for accurate mocks.
वैसे प्रियंका मैम के साथ एक चीज है, प्रियंका मैम जब फॉलो पीछे पड़ जाती है तो डेफिनेटली पड़ जाती है, बट शी आल्सो डज अ लॉट ऑफ पार्टीज
Yeah,
इन बिटवीन, तो
definitely,
फन
definitely.
भी होता रहता है उनके साथ.
Yeah.
अनिरुद्ध, थोड़ा आगे आकर के, एंड यू हैव टू बी लाउडर.
हाँ सर, मेरा भी सीएल का एक्सपीरियंस अच्छा था. मैं सीएल ग्वालियर में ही पढ़ा हूँ, तो वहाँ पर मेरे जो फैकल्टी थी जैसे मनोज सर और नितिन सर, उन्होंने मेरी बहुत हेल्प करी है क्लैट में. हाँ.
So Siddharth, over to you.
Yeah. So see, summing up, the first important thing that we said is, and which was common to all four, is that they started early. They were clear what they wanted to do, and then they started. So early start is good. If you are very clear, then please do that. The second part, which is common to everyone, is that mocks काफी regularly सबने दिया. Everybody said that mocks played a very critical part. Analysis of mock is important. Then when it came to general knowledge, making notes and revising general knowledge. Revision is one part which was common. Everybody said that revise करना थोड़ा सा एक वो रहता है. So revision is very important. Then we also talked about when the scores went down in the mocks, तब क्या हुआ? तो everybody was, I mean, on a similar page, similar kind of thing, कि बहुत अच्छा होए तो अपने आप को great मत समझो, बहुत बुरा होए तो अपने आप पर इतना harsh भी मत हो. It is a mock. The important thing is you need to analyze. And Ananya talked about very important thing, which I'm sure that everybody also would have done the similar kind of thing, which is the mental preparation, which is very, very important for the exam, the psychology. So that is something that you all need to keep in mind. For quantitative technique, there is no other way. There is absolutely no other way but to practice. You need to practice a lot. Try using the tools. Sectional test is one tool that these guys have told that helped them to prepare well. When they were feeling that a particular section में ही focus करने की जरूरत है, तो sectional tests are the most important tool that you can refer to. And yeah, then LST stars group, I think 3 out of 4 were at least part of this LST stars group. Amitan, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So make use of the resources, and that is very important. So there are so many things that have been provided to you as a student, and they were honest enough when they said कि वो YouTube वाला नहीं देखा उतना ज्यादा हमने. ठीक है. So ठीक है, मतलब it depends on your temperament, your availability of time, but whatever time you have, please ensure कि उसे properly use करें. That is what are the key takeaways for me at least.
गोविंद सर बैकग्राउंड में सब सुन रहे हैं वो पीछे मतलब वो सोच रहे हैं कि इन्होंने मेरा सेशन ही नहीं देखा.
नहीं ठीक है. See, the good part about it is, Amitin, we are looking for honesty, and that's why I said कि feedback दो. ये कोई problem नहीं है.
Definitely,
Yeah.
there's nothing to hide. Thank you so much, guys, for joining today. I'm sure this session is definitely helpful और ये बहुत help करेगा, बहुत motivate करेगा आपके सभी juniors को, and you will be catching up with them later in 2027. So all of you are headed to a top national law university. तुम्हारी journey at least exams की, competitive exams की खत्म हो गई, मेरी अभी चालू रहेगी. So I have my CLAT admit card in my hand. मेरा इतना ही था, प्रिंट लेके रखना था क्योंकि उनका इंस्ट्रक्शन थोड़ा डिफरेंट है. So we'll continue writing the exams. So thank you so much for joining at a short notice, and
Thank you, guys.
really great actually to have you all on board. Actually, thank you Siddharth as well for being here again on a short notice. Before I close the session, one query I think that's coming from a parent, Mr. Raju Shukla. So he has a query regarding the daughter. So given the rank, it's going to be difficult, and I'm being very truthful over here. So I think the best possibility should be to go for the OLETs, the other examinations. That would be my advice, and wait for the vacancy round in this case actually. So the actual position would be to go ahead, focus on the other law entrances. If you have applied for SLAT, do keep your focus on that. Ask your daughter to be very carefully write the paper actually. And of course, Christ has announced the examination. The forms are already live. You'll have MHCET later, so you can definitely explore this opportunity, or else in the spot round at a later stage. Okay, thank you so much everyone for joining in, and wonderful to have you all. And after the board exams, we'll definitely look forward to more such sessions before you join your college in July. So wonderful guys, and all the best for your class 12 board examination.
All the best.
अब वहां फोड़ करके आना है. ठीक है, चलो बाय.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.